Hello students, welcome back. I hope you have all familiarized yourself with the text and you have read it from pages 37 to 41 of our text. I hope you have understood the topic so far. Well, in the previous video, we spoke about the author Jules Verne.
Students, I want to remind you that our author Jules Verne was a French novelist, poet and playwright. He has written many books on adventure and science fiction. Now, a science fiction is a book of literature wherein the author can incorporate large amount of factual information into his writings. His writings are based on facts. They are factual and they can be proved. He enjoyed reading and researching in his library, which is also called the bibliothèque in French. He wrote about aeroplanes, warships and submarines at a time when they were not even discovered. And books written by Verne are an inspiration to our modern times. His books, though written in French originally, are the second most translated books in the world.
We understood the type of life in the 19th century. I spoke about the Reform Club and I mentioned about Phileas Fogg and his companions. We spoke about the wager, which was a reason for which Phileas Fogg took up this journey of going around the world in 80 days. Well, we stopped at the part where I told you to go through the text and read, and I also asked you to go through the link which I provided you. Well, now let's continue. What is the problem of traveling around the world? What are the perils which we face when we want to make a voyage around the globe? Here is a presentation
Here is a picture of a ship. You can see the sails which are dependent on the wind power to move from one place to another. Such a ship was used to go on a voyage from one place to another in the 18th century. Dangers or perils at sea and on land which one faces when one goes on a voyage. When on ship, one can experience bad weather. Especially in the 19th century, people were so dependent on weather, and the ships were also dependent on the wind force. So, cyclonic winds or a storm or natural hurdles like contrary winds could be hazardous, as they would blow in the opposite direction of the ship and cause a hurdle in your voyage. Similarly, shipwrecks could endanger the lives of people on the ship. It was possible to lose all your luggage or food and water supply or your ration because of such a shipwreck. What is a shipwreck? A shipwreck is nothing but an accident wherein the ship wrecks or meets with an accident. It can break to many pieces. You might have seen pictures of shipwrecks in movies. Well, similarly, railway accidents could be dangerous. Here are some pictures. Here are two pictures of perils at sea. In the first picture, you can see a fire which is caught on ship. It could be a result of a cooking accident. Similarly, as I mentioned, storms and shipwrecks could be dangerous, and you could also encounter pirates. The pirates' ships were full of pirates or people who are robbers. They would loot all the valuables or even your ration, and thus you would be rendered helpless when on a journey. Collision of trains, derailment of bogies, and other railway accidents could also cause a major hurdle in your voyage. Now remember, students, that this classical novel, Around the World in 80 Days, was written in 1873, and at this time, railways and bogies were just new. They had just been invented and they were used in full swing. But they could always have terrible accidents like that, like the one you can see in this picture here. You can see the bogies have derailed and they have landed into the water in the ocean. Similarly, other accidents like derailment of the bogies could also be fatal to life of the voyagers. Phileas Fogg's friend Stewart makes a mention of all these incidents which can hamper the voyage. But Fogg tells him, "Don't worry, I have considered all these problems and I think that I'm confident that I can still travel around the world in 80 days. Fogg invites Stewart, but Stewart does not wish to take a risk. He accepts to wager £4,000 to the person who agrees to circumnavigate or to go around the world in 80 days.
Well, students, you have just heard what are the dangers one faces when one undertakes a voyage around the world in the 19th century. But Phileas Fogg was determined. As you know, he was a man who took challenges. He was a strict disciplinarian. He was confident. He had done his math and he was confident in his calculation and he knew that he could make it on time. And he discussed with his companions and he was ready. He was determined and he dared to accept the wager. And in his excitement and temptation, he embarked on this adventure. Phileas Fogg set out to travel the earth, the globe, and return back in 80 days. His companions find his decision absurd. They think, "What? Are you crazy? Is this a joke?" They ask him, "Is it serious? Are you really going to do that?" "I don't think so." But Phileas Fogg assures them, "I am a person of my word. I will not take something like a wager very casually. I will not make a joke about it because money is involved and the amount which he decides to give him as a result of the bet, the amount was very tempting." Phileas Fogg plans to take the train to Dover at 8:45 p.m. that evening, and he bets that he will return back in 80 days or less. He makes a note on his pocket almanac. What is an almanac? It is a type of a calendar, which men of his time used to maintain, and they would put it was like a diary, a pocket diary, which they would maintain in their coat pockets, and they would consult this almanac as and when they needed to keep some schedules. So, Phileas Fogg leaves on Wednesday, the 2nd of October, and he states that he will come back on Saturday, the 21st of December at 8:45 p.m. Why 8:45 p.m.? Because he decides that he wants to leave by train from Dover, okay, at 8:45 p.m. So he decides that he will come back in 80 days. If you calculate, and I've shown you the maths, how much it becomes. Those who are very interested in maths, you can do the calculations and you can see for yourself. Phileas Fogg has a great adventure. He meets a lot of people. He meets amazing people on the way. He sees many interesting places. He even visits India on his voyage, and he manages to successfully go around the world, and he almost in the bargain loses his bet, okay, but he wins the wager. He doesn't lose it. He thinks that he might have lost it, but he reaches just in time. He returns back 3 seconds before 8:45 p.m. and he comes at the Reform Club, and everybody is amazed. You can understand why they are amazed. He undertakes this voyage along with his butler Passepartout. So he has a good journey, and his butler helps him with all his chores and his daily needs. If you watch the movie Around the World in 80 Days, which is starring Jackie Chan, you will see all these details. What happens, what type of inventions are used, what type of vehicles they use to travel from one place to another. You will see that in this movie. It is fascinating to watch. If you get a chance and if your parents allow you, do try and watch the movie. He completes the journey and he's back. And this is what we learn in this lesson. Around the World in 80 Days is an inspiration to us even in modern times. Students, you will ask me, why, teacher, do we need to read and understand a book which was written in the 19th century? We are today in the modern century, the 21st century. Why do we need to know about what happened then? It is important, students, because the values which we learn from this lesson, they are carried forward. We learn that we have to dream big. We have to challenge ourselves. We have to take up tasks which we are not always comfortable in doing. We have to push ourselves to go beyond our boundaries, beyond our limits. Well, here are a list of glossary. I will send these slides on the Google Classroom. So you will have it there too. I want you to go through the text again and understand and read about interesting facts about India. Well, students, thank you for watching this video, and I hope you have understood whatever we have discussed.